right now.
They have one on the outside office.
Okay.
So we'll guess what I'm into your, that's very unprofessional. I'm into your computer. You know, what's it take to, so you know, have your secretary send a letter to.
Yeah.
Do the chip and when you have this bar to tell me.
I'd like to officially call this meeting to order. Of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners. This is for Tuesday, April 29th, 2014. And if you all please stand ready for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And prior to asking Commissioner Wagner to lead us in prayer, I'd just like to thank Mayor Boyan and the Village of New Riegel for allowing us to hold our meeting here tonight. We started this quarterly, once a quarter evening meeting last year and continued it this year, and worked out nice. So we won't get around the whole county, and it'll take us over 3 years to do that. But our goal is to keep moving it about to different sides of the county and so forth. But appreciate the hospitality and allowing us to use the facilities tonight. Commissioner Riegel.
Okay, let's pray. Lord, we thank you once again for the chance to meet and to discuss the business of the county. We ask for your guidance in our discussion tonight, for your direction and your wisdom in all decisions that are made. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy, I did that backwards.
Here. Thanks for the signing of the journal and accept a motion to approve the DVD recording of the previous board session, which was from Tuesday, April 22nd, and the written index of that meeting as well.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as out.
I'll second.
Then moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. Do we have any adjustments for the agenda from what's printed? Anybody want to add anything under new or old business? Okay.
I had a change. We had, with the whole workers' comp thing, there was one that needed to be added for VOCA.
So you got one additional.
One added, and then one of the amounts changed. It went from 1816 to 1803 for Fund 145.
145, okay, I see. So 1816 is going to be the new term, the new amount?
1803.
1803, so it's correct on here, but
Yep.
changed from the original.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. All right, then we'll proceed with our old business. And the first item listed here is the New Riegel Sewer. I thought most appropriate, but what's most exciting is we finally got this meeting set up with Northwestern Water and Sewer District, who was at a meeting, and I think, Mayor, you were there that day, weren't you, when we had that meeting? And they offered, I've done a lot of similar work in trying to help resolve some issues and come up with some solutions. And so they agreed to, of no charge, to sit and discuss things with us and our engineer. We're trying to make that meeting happen with all the entities involved. We've got a date on the calendar, and it is on Thursday, May 8th at 9 in our offices, 111 Madison Street there in Tiffin. So that'll be next week, and so it'll be good to have that meeting and see if it will at all help us lead to some resolutions or some potential fixes down the road with things to make some improvements there. But
And that's not a commissioners meeting, you'll be attending that on our behalf, or are we all three?
I guess I'm attending on our behalf unless we wanted to call a special meeting.
No, it was my understanding that Holly, you're chairing that committee, and then you'll feed the information back to the mayor, back to the fellow commissioners, the board, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
If I could just elaborate, I know since we have some citizens of New Riegel here, and the sewer district is a hot topic, and we, as the commissioners, understand the difficulty and the pressures that it's putting on financially with everyone in the community. And to just kind of give a little bit of an overview, and correct me, Commissioner Wagner, because you were in this from some time, but the county took this system over, was kind of, I'm going to call it almost kind of held a little hostage, that the Bascom Sewer District, to be able to start that, the APA asked the county if they would take over the New Riegel Sewer District. USDA, okay. So that's how the county got involved in the sewer district. The sewer was already up, was running. There's certainly some financial issues that the Village of New Riegel had with it, so it was more advantageous. We could refinance the loan if the county took the thing over. So with that in mind, from what I understand, and I was the one that kind of spearheaded this after the fact, is that there's a group called RCAP. And what is rural? I don't understand what RCAP is, but there's a
Community Assistance Program.
rural community assistance program that did a estimation of what they call EDUs. I'm just calling it a multiplier. And they did an estimation of multipliers with all the residents, the single family residents in town had one EDU, one multiplier. And then the businesses were kind of estimated what they were using. And what I asked for after getting involved with the commissioner and so forth, I asked RCAP if they would come in and reevaluate the businesses within the community. Well, they have since then, they came in, they did an evaluation, and they adjusted the EDUs, the multiplier, for that. And that's what we're gonna make a resolution tonight to adopt that multiplier. I've had numerous calls from some of the residents of New Riegel, and keep in mind, we as commissioners did not establish that EDU, that multiplier. That was done by RCAP. I'll be glad, and we as the commissioners in the office, be glad to give anyone RCAP's number. So if you dispute your EDU, again, the residents have got one. You can't dispute that. You got one for single family dwellings. But if you're a business or if you have an apartment or anything other than one single family dwelling, if you dispute whatever the new EDU, the new multiplier is, we'll be glad to give you RCAP's number. You can call them and figure that out. It's not a commissioner issue. It's really RCAP that establishes that. The cost is established by, in very simple terms, Mark Zimmerman, our engineer, takes all the costs from the previous year, throws it in a bucket, and then divides it out over however many EDUs there are. So that's kind of a cut and dried formula. There's no funny business behind anything. It's just whatever the costs are, they throw in a bucket. There is a lot of added cost to the system because of the amount of flow that's in the system versus how it was engineered, and we can go on and on with that. That's nothing that the commissioners can change. Commissioner Stacy has agreed to set on a committee. There's a group from Wood County. I say they're from Wood County, but that's where they're from, but they deal with rural sewer systems throughout this part of Ohio, and the advantage of them, if that is a decision that the Village of New Riegel and the commissioners would want to go forward, is they got 50,000 members in their association, so it really divides the cost out over a greater number of people. There's disadvantages to the system, which, quite frankly, I don't know all of them, and Commissioner Stacy will be investigating that and reporting back to the board, which we in turn will report back to the mayor and the people of New Riegel. But keep in mind, we did not establish this. The EDU is established by RCAP. The cost was established by Mark Zimmerman, which is based on previous year's cost. And what it is, it's kind of a raw deal. I mean, I understand, I feel for the residents of New Riegel, but it's, don't shoot the messenger here. It's just what it is. It is. Yes, sir.
Do I have the opportunity to ask questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Ralph Tice. I'm from the resident of New Riegel. And when this sewer was established, one of the things they did was they put meters in everybody's home. And that meter was paid for through the USDA through a federal grant. And that federal grant costed the taxpayers in the United States, I guess he was called, over $12,000. Now, we use these meters a very short time. And to me, that's the fairest way of charging the people in the village of New Riegel, is with these water meters. We didn't have one problem with the meters when we had them. And I can't tell you exactly how long it was, but it was probably a good year and a half, maybe 2 years before they went to these EDUs. and we never had any problems, and all of a sudden we gotta go with these EDUs. I don't really understand why we did that. Could you explain that to me a little more on that?
I'm afraid without Mark here,
Yeah,
I doubt that we
I wish
can.
I could, but that's really an RCAP.
Well, that's
Or-
our decision, that'd be Mark's.
The engineer, yeah, Mark Zimmerman would be the person who is our sewer district manager.
And by the way, we did ask Mark to be at this meeting tonight, but he has a meeting at the exact same time in Bascom tonight, so was unable to be here, but.
But I will ask him about that, because that's, I'm curious myself, now you bring that up.
Well,
Ask him what the changes, and I don't know.
if I got permission, I'd like to go a little deeper with this if I could. Just ballpark figures, and we'll just use ballpark figures here, just for the residents, because, on an average, I would say every resident used right around 35 cubic feet when we had the meter. I mean, if you go across everything what the people used, I would say on average 35 cubic feet, some's higher, some's lower. Okay, at that point in time, we was paying $1 a cubic foot. The village was charging us $1 a cubic foot. The village was paying the city of Fostoria, and excuse me a minute, I can tell you exactly what that was, Fred. Riegel was charging the residents .9659, and the city of Fostoria was charging Riegel .3546. So on every cubic foot of water that went to Fostoria, the village of Riegel had a .6113 cents per cubic foot. You know, that's a pretty good return on your money.
Well, okay, according to law, the city of Fostoria can charge up to 150% of what they charge the residents of Fostoria. That's by law. They're allowed to charge up to 150% of what they charge the residents of Fostoria. I believe that Fostoria has rescinded that, and they're only charging 125%. And the reason for it is the taxpayers in the city of Fostoria pay for the sewer system. So there's gotta be some way that the other people that aren't paying taxes to Fostoria can contribute towards the sewer system, and they do that through that 125 or 150. And after conversations with the mayor and the city engineer, they agreed to 125% of what the rate should be. So, I mean, it could be worse, and I hate to say that. Now, as far as what was charged in the past, again, understanding the cost from last year, whatever those were thrown into a bucket and divided out amongst all the EDUs or all the users in the town.
The EDUs is not a fair way of charging the residents in the village of Riegel. If we would go by the meters, everybody would pay for what they use. I mean, what's wrong with that system, Fred?
That's not our decision. That would be something I would debate with RCAP.
Well, that would be our decision. Mark recommends the EDU.
Mark this? Okay.
And I don't know I have a perfect answer, but every one of our sewer,
Districts.
Districts.
Districts, is that the right word? Every one of our, plants goes by the EDU method, and I assume it's because of maintenance on the meters. You'd have to install meters everywhere, and then they'd be going out I don't know how long those things last, I have no idea.
25 years, they told us when we purchased them. And then after 25 years, they start slowing down, then you wanna start replacing them because they're not reading accurate anymore after 25 years.
Okay. But that's his recommendation, he's trying to keep it uniform for, all across the sewer district. Maybe it isn't the best way, I don't know, but that's that word EDUs, and it can't make a huge difference because the overall pot is the same amount. If it's $200,000, it's 200,000, whether it's EDUs or metered.
It is.
It would just be a little bit different division of it.
It is. Because if you just look at this, and if you used 35 cubic feet, and way back when, we was getting charged, the residents was charged $1 a cubic feet, that would cost us $35 per month, and take that times 3, that's only $100, a quarter, and now we're paying $264. So we got 264% increase in our sewer rates, and ain't nobody in this country has a 200% increase in the utilities. If that would be the case, people would go bankrupt in this country, you know?
I feel for you. That's when the mayor has called me and said, Fred, what can you do? And that's where, you know, as the commissioners, we got involved with it. I mean, I don't like the deal over here. If I was a resident, I understand where you're coming from. But keep in mind, as Commissioner Wagner said, if it's 200, I think it's $260,000 is the cost. That's the cost to run this system. How you divide that out, there's different ways how you can divide it out, but 260,000 is the cost. Back years ago, the cost may have been 150,000. Now it's 260,000, so you gotta divide that out. And what our engineer has decided was the best way to do it was EDUs. Keep in mind, the residents are only charged one EDU.
I understand that.
It's the businesses, there's a handful of businesses over here that those are the only people that it would be affected by. And they may get increased or they may get decreased. I totally support what you're saying. It seems to me the fairest way is the meter. But you know what? I'm not an engineer, and there had to be reasoning behind Mark Zimmerman when he made that decision. And I understand that I'm not at all gonna second guess our county engineer. He's an expert on the process, and I can understand his reasoning to keep it uniform throughout the county. So you're not doing this in New Riegel and this in Bascom and this in, whatever. So, I mean, I strongly urge it. I will help anyone in the village of New Riegel to connect you with RCAP so we can debate those issues.
Would you do that for me?
Absolutely, I will. And how do I get a hold of you?
My phone number is 419-595-7005. My name is Ralph Tice. I lived in this village since 1961.
Ralph, I'll
We
give you
need
a call.
help. We need help, Fred.
And
I'm
I
talking to all
understand.
three of you
Yep.
commissioners. We need help in this village. We can't afford $264. We're living on a fixed income. Probably 70% of the people that lives in this village don't have an income other than a little bit of social security.
I
I
understand
mean,
there's some
we
people.
don't have no increase in our pay. We don't have an income.
I understand there's some people that pay more for sewer than they pay electricity. That's a problem.
Oh,
That's a problem. And
We all
I
do.
hear you.
we all do. We
Yeah,
all do. I pay more in my sewer than I do my taxes. Can you believe that?
We'll have to take care
I
of
do
that.
too.
See, she does too.
I
do too.
we did,
Hopefully between,
Yep.
I was gonna say, between RCAP and between that Northwestern group that is willing to try to help us out, and sounds like they've resolved similar issues in other places across Wood County. I'm optimistic that we'll find something out that's helpful, and we know the governor's office is still working on reaching out with and communicating with EPA, so.
yeah, matter of fact, I just talked with Wes, who's what, Portman's, today, Portman's is whatever, liaison or whatever, and, he had a meeting last week in Sandusky County with, who holds the loan here? Is it EPA or
USDA.
USDA? They hold the loan, and they're willing to sit down and talk with the village and with the commissioner since we own it. But they said, quite frankly, they extended the loan out for 40 years, and that's the maximum they can extend it out for. So we said, we'll sit down and talk, but I don't know what they can really do. So, Ralph, we don't have the answer, but I can assure you that all three of us as commissioners, we hear you, and we're trying. I don't have the answers, but I know if I lived here, I'd be sitting back here just as you are, complaining too, and what can be done? It doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't. Not when you have $264 a month sewer bill. I got one more question if I could.
I may just throw in here, I'm hopeful that this Northwest Ohio group, rather than just annexing to them, I hope they have some engineering ideas as well.
Yeah, that's what I gathered, is it might have some ideas, they at least wanted to look at it.
And that brings up another point, is we have, got an understanding from our engineer and soil and water that now that the weather's breaking, sometime in next couple months, the county or soil and water bought one of these camera systems that can go through, and maybe there's areas, because one thing you gotta remember is the city of Fostoria charges for the amount of water that they treat.
Right.
If it's rainwater or sewage, they don't care, and you pay for it. And so if there's infiltration coming in, and by running these cameras, and isn't something you just click your fingers and have it done, but we own the camera, we can do it ourselves to save the money to run it, and that's what the direction is. That we've got soil and water engineer that are gonna do that now that the weather's better. They told me sometime May and June is what they hope to do it.
I was gonna ask if they was gonna camera it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's really important, because I know we got some infiltration in these lines.
If we can find out where they are now, that's gonna create
Simple, it's simple
some
to find
digging
out.
up and gonna create some havoc over here, but that may be, cause if I recall back when they looked at how much you should just charge in the system and how much is being treated in Fostoria, it's like 40%
I
is
believe
kind of
that.
the figures
I believe
that I've been thrown out that is infiltrating the system.
I believe that.
That's a lot, and you're paying for it.
Right.
But then
You know, they can fix that real simple. I mean, it's a simple operation for somebody that does the job. I mean, there's 2 people in this area that does that. They just go in and they go in line, cause I seen them do it. Cause we had a bad gusher out here, about 200 feet with the flow off of manhole number 9 going towards the flow. We had a gusher and they just went in there and they just had air compressor and they blocked off both ends of the tile and they shot air up in there and shot foam up in there. They sealed it up and then they went in and put a liner in.
Yeah, well, that's another thing they talk about too, but there's a cost to that.
Oh, yeah.
To shoot a liner in these things. So there's various options, and as I said, Commissioner Stacy is looking at some with this Wood County thing on it, and working with RCAP and trying to reassess the EDUs. But the overall cost, $260,000 to run a small village like this is a lot of money. It's got to be paid for by somebody.
Is there any way you can get help through the federal government or through somebody to help these people that ain't got much of an income to pay their bills? I mean, is there any assistance out there of anywhere, any place?
Actually, that might fall in my couple topics down here on the agenda under the CHIP program a little bit, depending on what it is
Job
in
and
an
family.
individual.
How about job and family?
Well, that would be, it wouldn't pay a sewer bill, but be food assistance and things like that if it's creating a hardship.
Well, maybe give a help us with it. I didn't ask them for the whole bill being paid, but I mean, our income is zilch in this village, because all we got is Social Security, and you people all know what Social Security pays you today,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, I'll share some information in the CHIP that
Yeah.
actually there might be some help with that when we get to that.
There's no real hidden magic pot of money, I mean,
Don't forget us. We really need help out here. We do. So
We
don't
hear you.
forget us. We're willing to work with you, if you can give us some help.
We're gonna try.
It's not falling on deaf ears, Ralph, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No question. Okay.
Deidre Biggies, I am a council member for the village. I'm curious when you do want to run the camera through the lines, only because we have some road work planned through a grant for later in the year. And I would hate to see us finally get our roads repaired, only to say, hear you say, there's infiltration, we gotta dig all this back up again. So that needs to happen first before our roads are repaved.
We'll make sure that it's, I'm sure that they're thinking of that, the
I
coordinator.
heard the engineer say we're not gonna dig up.
Yeah,
the
yeah, never
587, we're not gonna dig up 587. That's, you got the issue 2 money or the issue 1 money for 587.
Correct.
Yeah. We'll have to find another one, so.
Yeah, but doesn't the sewer run down that road?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but they won't
Right
have to
under the
dig it
road.
up. Okay.
I don't know where to drop it in, I guess.
I wouldn't take for granted they don't have to dig anything, so.
Well, there's
Well,
five
well, no, they need
leaks.
to make
There's
sure they
5
watch out for these
infiltrations in this line when I left office.
Good point.
But I don't think there's any of them fixed. And there was 5 of them, but I don't think none of them got fixed. We're in the process of getting them fixed, but if you understand politics, when you get voted out of office, everything goes by the wayside, what you worked up for to get done, but there was 5 infiltrations left in this town, in these lines. So, I know that.
All right, well, thank you for the input, and we will, obviously be working on that one. We'll continue down our list of old business stuff, and then we're gonna get to our guest, and move you guys in before we handle the new resolutions. Jobs fair was the next thing listed, just a quick update and a reminder, since we're out and about in a different part of the county. The jobs fair is May 12th, at Tiffin University in the Hemingway Center, and it is open to any job seekers. 3 to 6:30 are the hours for that. We work with Congressman Jordan's office, along with the county, the cities, and various other groups are part of this planning process, and we've got 40 plus businesses that are going to be there exhibiting, which means those are 40 plus businesses that at least have one position to fill. That's the requirement for businesses to partake, is to have positions that you need to fill. So there's still opportunity if anybody wants to get in as a business as well. And obviously anybody looking for a job or a new job or something, 3 to 6:30 is the date. Come dressed for success, resume in hand, and see who you meet, I guess. But that's when that is. CHIP update. Fred and I both participated in the first process this year, the Community Housing Improvement Plan Program, which is what the CHIP is, the grant funding. They streamlined the process, so the cities, Fostoria, Tiffin, and the county are all one application instead of 3 separate applications. So we formed an agreement. The county is serving as the grantee on that. That was agreed upon, and then today the entities got together with all the appropriate representatives from the different housing type programs, etc., to discuss our priorities and our needs. And I was sharing with the mayor before the meeting started that for the county, we've identified New Riegel and Bloomville to be our target areas, and then we prioritize within that. In the county, we won't receive, it's not like it's a third, and a third of the 975,000 available, because we already part of a program, and they're 2-year programs, so we can't get a third of the monies, we can get less monies, but we've asked to target ours for New Riegel and for Bloomville, and they'll look at whether it's rehab or repairs to homes and or rental. Now, we didn't prioritize the rentals as high because obviously compared to the city of Fostoria and Tiffin, they have a lot more rental properties with the universities and just with the populations they have. But that's, like I said, that was the priority process steps we went through today, and then the grant will get written, and eventually you'll see us approve the grant application going forward. The deadline's early June, so within the next month we'll have that back on our agenda for approval and moving it along. But that's the areas of where we targeted at. And again, worked out that we were going to be here tonight, so I thought I'd share that information. Now, whether there'll be anything in that line, probably wouldn't be to pay the sewer bill, but if there's other needs because of limited income that somebody has and they meet those qualifiers, there might be some assistance that comes as a result of that. Next item listed here is cemetery, and it says financial behind that on the agenda. So
Well, I've bit my tongue long enough here. I've got to just say my piece here. And kind of the Board of Elections and the cemetery falls into the same thing. Last week, when I heard the mayor of the city of Tiffin came up to the commissioners and saying that he would help pay for some of the modifications and things we had to do within the county, and I'm thinking like, come on guys, we're no longer a poor stepchild here. We got to stand on our own. If there's things that have to be made, if the decision is to keep the Board of Elections downtown, the county's big boys. We got to stand up and we got to pay for it ourselves. We don't need to go to act like a poor stepchild and go to the mayor and say, well, city, can you put part of the bill? They have their responsibilities for the city. We have our responsibilities for the county. We have to maintain county buildings. We don't need to parlay on the city and say, hey, will you help us here? We got ADA accessible things. We have to take care of that. And so again, that kind of resonated with me, and the cemetery did too. And I'm just dumbfounded, and I just cannot allow this to happen. And I don't know the right word, but the Boy Scouts have done a tremendous job out there. The city of Tiffin, the way the law reads, as I understand it, if you died in the city has to, and you're indigent, the city has to pay to put some sort of marker stone out there. If you die in a township, the township's supposed to provide some sort of marker stone. Somehow the county's supposed to do something. Well, the city ponied up, and there was 3 marker stones that they did themselves. There's 2 more marker stones that we need to have done. We had private donation to come up with $400, And so that means there's $90 left to do it. Come to one of the townships, well, they'll put their own up there. I'm thinking like, my God, this would be a disgrace to the Boy Scouts and the people that have worked it for $90. How cheap can we be? I understand we have to be fiscally responsible.
$90 left, that's not what.
$90 left.
$90 left, so it's more than that they owe. But by law, we can't make them do anything. The only point is the law says they're responsible to market, and so they're going to go about doing that. And my other point would be, that's one what the law says. Two is that down the road, when something else happens again, the family could provide, if they could still be indigent, and the family could still come up and provide something.
Yeah.
That has happened in one case. I don't know that we're going by law ever make them match what's out there.
Well, I understand.
So, I mean, and it's, fortunately, it's not an active cemetery in the sense of we're actively burying people, because we want people to have families and not to have just indigent folks out there, but obviously that's what it's for. So I guess that I'll stand on that issue. The Board of Elections, I got another opinion for, but let's talk cemetery
Yeah,
first.
but for 100 years, the cemetery's been maintained with uniformity, and all of a sudden now, we're not gonna have uniformity? And the issue comes down, is $245 a stone, there's $400 that was made from a private person that stepped up to do the county's work, there's $90 left. And if I'll take that out of my money before I'll let something out, before I'll let a township just put some arbitrary thing in there. Now, there's a stone in there that an individual put in, and I respect that. If the family member put their own stone in there, absolutely, I would not at all think about doing anything differently. But I just think when I see this, the Board of Election, and that the city's gotta come up and pony up to take care of its responsibilities of the county, I take offense with that. It's like we're
We'll talk Board of Elections separate. Let's finish the cemetery
But
thing
you have to
first.
put them both together.
Well, no, you don't, because I won't. Anyway,
Okay.
anything on the cemetery?
So that's my thoughts there.
Okay. On the Board of Elections, we did not ask the city for money. They came and offered that. We haven't accepted any money from them. We haven't made any decisions that we're moving the Board of Elections. I stated at the last meeting that until the Board of Elections is made whole, I don't have any interest in addressing this issue. And two, they were supposed to come back with a list, which they haven't done to us. And three, they said they were going to provide us with that. Well, we were receiving communications from the Secretary of State's office regarding the ADA concerns. Now, our building is not that it's not ADA compliant. We wouldn't have anybody in it if it wasn't ADA compliant and if the fire marshal didn't approve it and all those regulatory things. So the building's in use and we're using it. They said they had concerns when they came back to us last fall. And they shared their concerns being ADA, security, and space. And we discussed, what would be some possible ways and looked at a way to do that without it costing us much money. So I don't know if that's where the city got the idea that we needed money. We didn't say we needed money. We just said we wanted the least cost, because we're in a facility. If we moved them anywhere, we didn't want to have to renovate a whole building for them, those kinds of things. So that's where that was left. And at this point, they have not come back, again, with that list. We didn't ask the city for money. They've not come back with a list like they said they were going to 2 weeks ago now. And I've yet to see a letter from the Secretary of State's office that says that there is an ADA compliancy issue. I mean, it's not to current standards, but it's grandfathered in because of the age of the building. So that's where that is. So yeah, again, I understand the city's point is based on they don't want it outside of city limits. Maybe we ought to ask the folks in the Riegel out here if they have a strong opinion on that. But we serve the entire county. That's where we looked at that as a viable option. They're raising points of contention, saying that it's not for other reasons and economic factors. And I see their point. But again, until the Board of Elections is made whole with their current issues of staffing their board and coming back with this information to us, I'm not interested in us making any decision to move them. In my opinion, that's where I stand.
Well, my hope is that we won't even consider using any city money to do it, whatever's being done.
I don't see why not, but I guess my thought on the issue is, as Commissioner Stacy said, let's wait till the new board member is seated. And I specifically asked them to come with a unified opinion, because I don't think we're unified right now. I think the new board member wants something different than what the current board members want. So I think they're gonna come with a unified opinion. We need to do this, this, and this to the old building, or we wanna move, and then we kinda go from there. And the city has offered help. I don't see why we would not accept their help, but we didn't ask them. They came and said, if it takes something to make them stay, we'll will help. And certain things we would need their help with. If we want to put the handicap thing right out front, which if you're gonna do, I think that's the place for it. I think it's right in the very front of the building on Washington Street
On
there.
City Street, so it takes them.
They would have to do a curb cut there on their own street, and that would be so close to get into the building rather than jogging people clear around. But there are bigger issues. I don't know what the board's gonna recommend. I'm really not interested in making changes until they recommend something as a unified body.
So on those issues. Senate Bill 155, ditch hearing bill.
This is a half-year note. Just for the public. A couple of years ago, well, by law, we have these joint ditch hearings. We have joint ditches with all the counties around us, Wood, Huron, Hancock, and so on. And when we have, each year on these ditches, we approve the apportionments. So we travel to Wood County, we travel to Hancock County, and if we're the lead, then they come to our county. So we're traveling to all these different counties. And Susan Smith, a local resident, was attending a lot of our meetings at the time. She said, "Why are you guys doing all that?" And we said, "Well, it's the law. We have to. We can't do it by phone." She said, "That law ought to change." So we contacted Dan Schroeder and David Burke, and it only took 2 years, but we got the law changed. So they signed the bill today. Dan Schroeder, Burke, myself, and Mrs. Smith all went down to the bill signing today. He signed it like a month ago, but this was the ceremonial signing. Really happy time for her. The governor joked with her about being a busybody and attending all these meetings, and it was really a nice event for her, and it's a small legislative victory. It'll save us a little more time, be a little bit more efficient. We won't be driving county cars, which puts us more at risk for accidents in Corsa. So you guys will be happy. You'll probably cut our rate.
No pressure.
And it was just a good day. We had a good day down at State House today.
At that, before we move into new business, let's move to presentation we have coming from Corsa. Jenny, I want you.
Okay, do you want us to come up there?
Sure, wherever you want
Is
to.
that all right?
Oh, you would be on the camera that way.
Okay. Maybe we'll sit in the back of the room.
No.
What everybody
Consider,
wants to
you
do.
consider staying, whatever works for you.
Right.
I'm just gonna sit right here,
Yeah,
that's all right.
That's fine. And I guess maybe start with a little bit so our guests would, I guess, understand exactly what Corsa is and all that kind of stuff, since we're,
Okay.
I said out and about in new territory today.
You wanna do it, you want me to? Let me go ahead.
Go ahead.
Corsa, we are the property and liability coverage for Seneca County. Corsa is a self-insured pool, and we insure only counties in the state. We insure actually 65 of the 88 counties here in Ohio, and also about 21 multi-county facilities, and that could be a multi-county jail, multi-county juvenile correction facility. We actually even now have some multi-county entities from shared services. We have a job and family service, several counties that have gone together to share service, and we insure them as a separate entity as well. But we typically only insure county government. Of course, it's been around for 27 years. We started back in 1987 when we were going through a very difficult insurance cycle at that time, and a lot of counties found it very difficult to find insurance. And if they did find it, some counties couldn't afford to pay for liability insurance. So we had counties that were, taking that risk of going with no insurance for a year. Some went 2 years with no insurance. The hard market was really bad back then, and unfortunately, insurance has cycles like that. And if we have a major event, which the last time we had a really hard market was back in 9/11.
Yeah.
And, a lot of counties who were not part of course at the time saw insurance rates go up 40 to 60%. That's hard for a county. You have a very strict budget that you have to deal with. And seeing those kind of increases, it's hard for a county. Corsa, we self-insure the first $1 million of any loss for the counties that are members of Corsa. So when you pay your program costs, the majority of your program costs go into what we call our loss fund. And let me just go ahead and kind of pass this out, and then you can see what I'm talking about here. I brought a copy of the invoice for everyone, so you can see that. Stacy, did you want one of these too?
Sure. I think we got it
I have an
last week,
extra
didn't
one
we?
if you need. Yes, you got this in the mail. I just brought it with me so
Okay.
that you could look at it. If you look at the second page there, that's your program cost. And you can see, good news for you tonight. You want good news?
Yes.
Your insurance costs actually did go down this year. Not a lot, but believe me, in the insurance market, anytime you get a decrease, that's a good thing. So, this year, your net due to Corsa is $273,535. That is a decrease of $4,374, over last year. Last year, your program cost was $277,910. So it's about a 1.5%, a little more than 1.5%, decrease. So that's good. Like I mentioned, the majority of that, $273,000, is gonna go into your loss fund. Actually, $198,857 goes into the loss fund to pay your claims up to $1 million, because we self-insure for all of our members, we self-insure that. So the majority of your program cost goes into that loss fund, and it's held there to pay your claims. So we have two different categories. We have the primary loss fund, which pays claims over your deductible, which your deductible is $2,500, and that's per claim, no matter what type of claim, if it's auto, GL, E&O, whatever, or property, it's $2,500. That's the cost to the county. And then anything over that, up to $200,000, is paid out of the primary loss fund. And our actuaries determine how much Seneca County is going to pay into that primary loss fund based on two things. Your loss history for the last 5 years. That's why every loss matters to Seneca County, because they're gonna stay in your loss history for 5 years. And then your exposures. And when we talk about exposures for the county, we're talking about all of your buildings and contents. We're talking about all the vehicles that you own, all of the contractor's equipment at the engineer's office. We're talking about the number of deputies you have, your inmates. We're talking about the number of employees you have, your total payroll. All of those things are considered exposures. And that's what the actuary looks at to determine how much Seneca County is going to put in that primary loss fund. Then for any claim over $200,000 up to $1 million, that comes out of the secondary loss fund. And how much Seneca County contributes to that secondary loss fund is based on the actuary actually just looks at your exposures to determine how much you contribute. Because statistics have shown us that the majority of your claims are going to be paid out of that primary loss fund. If Seneca County has a loss, the majority of the time, it's going to be under that $200,000. So it's going to be paid out of that first layer, the primary loss fund. So your total loss fund contribution this year is $198,857. Now, the only time that goes up is if you have an increase in exposures. That could cause your contributions to the loss fund to go up, or if you have higher than normal losses. So if we're paying out more in losses than what you're contributing to the loss fund, then that could cause your rates to go up. But Seneca County's doing pretty good right now. So your total contribution was $198,857. Then you have excess insurance for any claim over $1 million. For your property, we have Travelers as our excess insurer. And for liability, we have county reinsurance. And that is like a captive for pools. Like Corsa provides coverage for you, there is a captive that provides coverage for pools as well. So that includes, and also Corsa's administrative costs are included in there, as well as your agent's fee. So that comes to $103,032. Your total program costs $301,889. Now, for the last, and I know most of you are fairly new here, but for probably the last 6-7 years, Corsa has been returning members' equity. Because we're a self-insured pool for counties, our members, are actually our stockholders. So we don't give the money, any extra money that's left over to stockholders. We give money back to our members, and that's what we did. And this year, your loss fund member equity was $20,800. So that brings your net program cost down to $281,000. Then every year, for about the last 4 years, we have set up a loss control incentive program. And what this is our risk management team looks at our losses to see where our losses are, and we set up specific guidelines that a county has to meet. And if you meet those, you get a reduction in your program costs. And there's a certain amount set up for the county. And I'm glad to say that this year you got 100%. So your total incentive program credit was $7,554. So that brings it down to $273,535. So that's the good news. Continue with the good news. With that reduction,
You're not gonna drop a bombshell on us here, right now.
No.
I hate that, I don't like it, so that's the good news. Now what's coming over here?
no, I just have more good news.
Good,
Like
good.
that guy with the flag.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
Save you 25 here, it's gonna cost you $5,000.
No, it's just gonna continue to get better. We have a couple of coverage enhancements this year. And if you look on the next page, you'll see there's 2 of them. The first one is the attorney disciplinary action coverage. We added this about, 6 years ago. And the reason we added this coverage in the first place is because a lot of the prosecutor's office was carrying a separate policy. And the reason they were carrying it, we found out, is because the prosecutor's policy that they got through the Supreme Court, their association, it included attorney disciplinary action coverage. Our policy excluded it. We didn't want the county prosecutors to have to carry this other policy just for this, when they otherwise were duplicate coverage. So the county was actually paying twice. So what we did is we added the attorney disciplinary action coverage to our policy so that the prosecutors could drop that other policy, which I think all of them have done that. Last year, when we set this up, it was for prosecutors, assistant prosecutors, and magistrates. Those are the only attorneys that were covered under this. Last year, we were asked to extend that coverage to any attorney that is employed as an attorney by the county. The reason for that is because a lot of the Job and Family Service have attorneys on staff, and they wanted that coverage as well. So we did that last year. This year, the Prosecutors Association came and said, well, when you added this coverage, our defense cost didn't kick in until there was a finding of probable cause by the panel, which is made up from the Supreme Court. And they wanted us to change that we would start providing a defense as soon as a complaint was filed. And we agreed to do that. So we did change our coverage agreement this year so that as soon as a county prosecutor or assistant prosecutor or any attorney that's employed by the county has a complaint filed against them, they can send it right to course, and we're on it from day 1.
Does that go for the indigent counsel too then?
Only if they are an employee of the county. If it's somebody that is appointed to work for the county, they're not an employee of the county, and so they're a contracted employee, more or less. So it would not be for them. Okay? The second coverage that we're adding this year, and I'm really pleased about this, is the cyber liability and expense coverage. Up until May the 1st, you really do not have any cyber liability coverage. That's excluded from our policy. Corsa belongs to a couple associations that has members across the country. And we go to these association meetings and we hear what's going on in other parts of the country. And what we're hearing is a lot more states are having local governments get hacked into. It's not just the big corporations now. They're starting to hack into cities and counties. And we're seeing this more and more. And in fact, just about a month ago, the city of Akron actually got hacked into. They haven't determined what all the costs are going to be from that. So we felt it was important to add this coverage for our members because you use the computers, electronic things for everything. You have laptops, you have, your computers, your phones that you get into your emails. In fact, this year, at our meeting in March, we had a speaker come and talk about cyber liability. And he actually works for the CIA and the FBI, and he is a hacker. And to prove his point as to how easy it was to hack into someone, he did that at our meeting. When he got there about 15 minutes before our program started, set up his computer, and when he started his presentation, he asked the audience how many of them were concerned about being hacked. Not very many people raised their hand. And he said, well, a lot of you should be, because I've already hacked into your cell phones while you were sitting here. You were on your cell phones. And he said, and he put it up on the screen. Now he encrypted it. He encrypted it. He did, there was 47.
47 phones.
With 47 phones, in less than 15 minutes, he hacked into their phones. And he asked those people in the audience, he said, now, how many of you are tied into your computers at work so you can get your emails? He said, well, I just got into your cell phone, so guess what? I just got into your computers at your office. That's how easy it is. And he had this little piece of equipment attached to his computer, which he said you can buy over the internet. That's how easy it is. He said most of the time it takes less than 18 seconds to hack into someone's computer. And so that just, I mean, we had a lot of commissioners and agents walking out of that meeting who said, I don't think I even want my phone anymore.
So if somebody hacks into the county system, orders a bunch of stuff, or cancels an order, that's where this would kick in.
What they typically do when they hack into your system is they steal information.
Right.
They steal private information. I think it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, I think it was the auditor's office said they're required to collect Social Security numbers now for one of the programs. And they were very concerned about doing that, because what if they get hacked? They've got all these Social Security numbers in here. That's why, we thought it was important. It was time that we offered that to our members. And the good news about that is the cost of the cyber liability was paid out of our members' equity. So there's no cost to the county. So you're getting $1 million worth of coverage at no cost. We use members' equity for that. Again, because we're a self-insured pool, you're our owners. So any money we have, we use to benefit our members, and that was one of the ways that we did it. So we could offer that to you without an increase in cost.
Scary.
It is, it's very scary.
Scary.
It really is.
So is there anything that would make that null and void, that type of coverage based on type of equipment used, somebody using their own equipment versus county-owned equipment?
No.
Big brother's here.
If they're an employee, they're covered, it's covered.
Yes. If it's a county computer that's hacked into, it's covered.
Okay. Even if it's through somebody's personal phone.
Yes, if they get in through somebody's personal phone, still covered. And another thing that we're doing too, along with, and our speaker talked about this, along with having the policy, you gotta make sure you have a policy and procedures. And a lot of our counties don't have designated IT people or who can do these policies and procedures for them. And that's something that we're going to do. We are going to be working with some IT people from our counties, our member counties, and we're going to put together some policy and procedures, and we're going to make that available to all of our members. And we're probably going to do regional training on that, so you'll be hearing more about that later this summer as we get everything put together. We'll be coming out to the areas and doing some training on that for all of our members. Because believe me, risk management, that's the best advice that you have to keep from getting hacked into. The last thing from our renewal is we also started a new loss control program this year. Corsa has partnered with a company called Facility Dude, and I know everybody laughs when I mention that and why they name themselves Facility Dude, but they did anyway. But it is a great company, and it's a web-based facility management tool for our members. So what it helps you to do is to be more efficient in your operations for your facility maintenance people. and it also can help you reduce costs. This program is really important, we think, to our members to help them be more efficient. It will remind you when your air conditioning units need to be serviced, or when you have to do your yearly maintenance on it. All of these things, it can put out work orders for your maintenance people. The best thing about this is that Corsa is going to subsidize this for our members. We're gonna pay 75% of the cost for our members to get this this web-based.
This is the thing we talked about
Yes.
yesterday in Sandusky County.
This is the one
That
you
they
told us
have.
last year.
Pardon?
This is the same thing you told us about last year, but now, of course, it's gonna help us pay for it.
Yeah, actually Sandusky County's already doing it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
that's.
they're just tickled to death because now we're gonna pay for it for them.
So,
Yeah. We'll pay 75%, the members pay 25%. And the reason we're asking the members to pay 25% is because, you know, if you get something for free, everybody takes it. But do you use it? So we thought if the counties had a little bit of meat in the game, that they would be, you know, they would utilize this service. And I think it really will be a great savings for the county. And going one step further is Facility Dude will help with the implementation of it, because that's the biggest part of it, getting started, is getting everything implemented into the computer. And typically Facility Dude will do this for new counties coming on, but they charge about $2,500 to do that. They're working with us and they're going to do that at no cost to the county. So they're gonna help you with that. So you're really getting a lot. The first year, your payment will be a little more expensive than the rest of the following years, because you have to buy the software and everything like that. But we're paying 75%. The ones that I've seen so far, the most expensive county I've seen so far has been $2,500 the first year, and about $1,500 to $1,200 a year after that. So it's very affordable, and for some counties,
That's our share.
That's your share. And for some counties, it's even less than that. And it may be for you, I'm not sure.
Right.
They do it based on square footage. What I would recommend to the county is to call Greg James, and he has a webinar that he does. And I know I've talked to several of the county commissioners across the state while I'm doing these renewal visits. And a lot of them have told me they've already taken that webinar. I was in Logan County a couple of weeks ago, and the commissioners had just literally walked out of the webinar from doing that, and they said, oh, we're on this. This is really good stuff. This is very beneficial to the county. And so Fulton County has already signed up. I forget some of the others that have already. We've already given in the 3 weeks, we've already given out over two dozen proposals right now, and they're starting to come back in. So I really recommend to do this webinar. I think it would be really beneficial for your county. And that's all I had on the renewal for you. Did you have any questions about your coverage or cost or anything?
I think we can bring us good news every day of the week.
I'm not done.
Oh, no.
No.
I have more good news.
Would you care to tackle the New Riegel sewer problem?
Yeah, I'm not sure I could do that one for you. Well, I have to say, honestly, you guys make it easy for us, because you do a good job here. And I'm gonna show you why I say that. I'm gonna give you a copy of what we call our stewardship report. I think I do. Copy here.
Just like an attaboy.
This is like an attaboy. Well, actually, it's really good. I've got another one here. It's really good because what this stewardship report is for, the purpose of it is to show you an overview of the last 3 years, all of the benefits that you've received by being a member of Corsa. Because all of the services that are included in here, there's no additional cost for anything. And, you know, Seneca County has really done a great job. In your stewardship report, 2 things that are really important. Every year, you're doing defensive drivers training classes for your employees. very important. You check MVRs for your employees, you do an annual check of that, again, very important. 50% of the losses, Corsa sees, pool-wide, across all, 50% of them are auto losses.
And
The
big thanks to Tanya for doing all that
Yes.
work. She really digs in, and she's not here tonight, but she takes care of most of that stuff for us.
Yeah,
You're exactly right, that's Stacy and Tanya making this happen, because that effort generates the credit here that's $7,500 back. So it does pay off to do these things, plus you have a few less claims here and there, where you have a $2,500 deductible and you save it on that end, so it is well worth the effort, and that's where this shows that. Because
No, that's
without
all right.
that, I mean, without those efforts, because you don't have to do all of these things. But it's very smart that you do, because it does show that it works. So,
Some of those things you don't see her doing, but she's
Right.
doing it.
another great thing that I have to give you kudos for this. You did the law enforcement seminar or not law enforcement, I'm sorry, employment practice seminar, where you had to have 80% of the elected officials present to get credit for it, and that's part of your loss control incentive program credit. And Seneca County got that. You got 80% of your elected officials to be there, at least 80%, maybe it was more than that. That is not an easy thing for counties to do, to get 80% of your elected officials to agree to go to anything. So, I say that's an amazing job, and I give counties a lot of credit who got that. And I will tell you, when we started putting that program together, the first year or two, it was pretty easy for counties to get 100%. It's not so easy now. They really have to work to get that, and so they've really worked hard to get that the last couple of years. They're getting 100%, and that's good. You've also, your law enforcement, I gotta give kudos to your sheriff too. He has participated in the last 3 years, all of our law enforcement seminars. We bring experts from across the country here to talk to whatever the hot topics are for sheriffs. And your sheriff has participated in every year in those. The contract reviews, we do some of that for you. I know you've sent some of those into us. That's great too. Also with this report, I like to talk about a few things that I don't see. Some of the benefits that maybe Seneca County isn't taking advantage of, or not, maybe you're a little bit, but not a lot, like our online classes. You use that a little, but I really highly recommend that you talk to like Job and Family Service, Board of DD, and encourage them to use those online classes. That can help them a lot. If they have an issue in their department, if there's a lawsuit, being able to say, hey, we trained our employees on this. We did our due diligence. That's what we want to be able to say. And by taking that online class, that helps. Also, law enforcement, we have some online classes. We have over 100 online classes for law enforcement. And these law enforcement classes they take anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes to take. Take it from any computer 24 hours a day. So I really would encourage the sheriff to do that. When you tell him what a great job he's doing by coming to our seminars, also say, hey, don't forget, they've got over 100 online classes that you can use. And this is the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office and the jail. So, and also I know that you don't use our HR helpline, or you've not the last 3 years. Now, do you have another consultant that you use? Okay.
Yeah.
Corsa does provide HR helpline, so that if you have a question, you have to discipline someone, you have to terminate someone, you have a family medical leave question, you can call attorneys that we've contracted with, and they'll give you a response within 8 hours. Usually they have a response back to the county, usually the same day. You can get a written response back from them, and there's no cost to the county to use that. Now, a lot of our counties use it, like you already have your consultant, that's not a problem. We just want to make sure that our members are getting that assistance, because that really helps us to eliminate those employment practice liability claims. And if you do the right thing up front, it really helps to eliminate that cost. And one of those claims, even if it's a frivolous claim, just for us to provide a defense for you, it's gonna be $25,000-$35,000.
Let me ask you, I mean, because Seneca County is a member of Corsa, does that mean the townships or the villages also have accessibility to Corsa
No.
through the county?
They're separate.
No,
Uh,
actually, the townships have their own association.
So the villages cannot, because being a member of, I mean, that'd be an interesting
Yeah,
topic since we're right here in the village. that-
yeah,
No,
no,
they have their own program and,
we only
Corsa
do
is strictly
counties.
for
We
just
only
the counties.
strictly do counties, yes. Our coverage agreement is written with is unique to county government. And so that's all I have for you. Otherwise, like I said, you guys are doing a great job. We encourage you to keep it up.
Thanks for coming out.
You can come back anytime to give us good news.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wanna reduce our rates, you come back next week.
I'll let my boss know that.
Wrong cord.
I do appreciate you coming to this evening meeting.
Oh, no problem. It helps me a lot. I was telling Brian, a lot of the counties meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's really hard to, be able to get them all in. And so having this evening meeting was like, well, yeah, I can come in. That's one less I have to do during the day, so.
There you go.
So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
okay.
Do we need to move and do that bid opening? Did we have anybody present or specifically with that? If not, we can, what do you recommend, Stacy?
We can either do that quick, how many do we have?
There's only two, yeah.
Four maybe.
Well, there's one for each, one for the CSB, one for,
Oh, that's right, we did them separately. You wanna do those first, you wanna do the other?
We might as well do them, I guess. Isn't it?
could I have the sign-in sheet, Stace? I'll pass it down.
Can you guys sign in, please, just so that.
We have it.
The bid opening for the commissioner's parking lot and the county services building asphalt project, right?
Yep.
And we did them separately?
Yes, we put them on different bids.
Okay.
Since, we had a little difficulty with the CSB last year.
Yeah.
That was recommended. Let's see, the first one is for the commissioner's parking lot, and the bid is from Erie Blacktop Incorporated out of Sandusky.
What's the engineer's bid? Or-
Engineer's estimate for the project is $68,258. Total bid for this amount, $73,995.25. 73995.25.
A little low in his estimates here, I think. It's the second time that he did this.
I think that would be
I'm not-
And the next one is M&B Asphalt. They're out of Old Fort. Ooh, you should have bet him. The total bid amount, $76,398. 76398.
incredible work on that?
Mm-hmm.
I assume he was in talking to Tanya
Wow.
Now,
end of
again, if
last
it's
week and.
Yeah.
If it's less than 10% overrun, we don't have to rebid it, that's correct.
Right.
So that would fall within that.
Yeah.
6,800, right in the truck overrun.
And he's always had those, yeah, that's great.
Okay, and for the CSB parking lots, let's see, total engineer's estimates for the project is $94,153. This is M&B's total bid $92,516. And the bid from Erie Blacktop is $89,616.90. 89616.90.
That's gonna make it easy because
All at once.
you have to do it all at
please.
once, yeah, it's the same.
And that's
If you wanna pass it to Mayor, thank you.
Yep, all right, well, those will be presented to the engineer to review and move forward on, right?
give us recommendation.
Take the recommendations back.
So we'll get the specs for us and
Make sure they didn't miss something.
Okay. All right, with that, we will go back to the things listed under the new business on the agenda, starting with the bill vouchers.
I have bill vouchers 50 through 52. I have an appropriation adjustment within the VOCA Expansion Project Fund 112, moving $25.52 from her 0109 account to her 1090 account in the workers' comp, again, $25.52. You'll see a lot of workers' comp today. We're clearing it up by the end of the month because our payment, we've got the calculations made and the payments made. So these are just adjustments, making sure some had enough money in workers' comp, some didn't calculate quite enough money in workers' comp. So that's why you're seeing a lot of workers' comp. I have an appropriation adjustment for the Community Corrections Fund 181, moving $6.33 from salaries to workers' comp, $82.90 from other expense to workers' comp, $10.15 from Medicare to workers' comp, 42 cents from hospitalization to workers' comp, and $82.55 from BRS to workers' comp. Total moved $182.35. And a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the Seneca County Sewer District 139, putting $477.19 into contract services. Actually, I think that's the wrong. She's got in the description it's for workers' comp, but it should not be coming out of contract services. I think that's just a title on my resolution. Is the agenda correct? Is the
Oh,
agenda
no, it
say-
says contract services.
Okay, it should be for workers' comp. The account line on the resolution is correct. Just the description says. So it is workers' comp for $477.19. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the revolving loan fund, 094, putting $17.53 into the workers' comp line. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the enterprise zone fund, 145, putting $18.03 into workers' comp. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Fund, 017, putting $306.46 into workers' comp. I have an appropriation adjustment for the hazardous materials fund, 150, moving $29.13 from salaries to workers' comp. I have an appropriation adjustment within the maintenance and repair fund, 020, moving $5,000 from contract projects to other expense. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance from the general fund to the Moving Ohio Forward Fund, 073, $404. Again, from the general fund advance out to the Moving Ohio Forward advances in. I have a resolution setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for the 2014 Seneca County Township Road Reconstruction Program, OPWC Issue 1, round 28. This will be on Tuesday, May 27th at 10:30 a.m. at the Commissioner's office. I have resolution adjusting the amounts of equivalent dwelling units for the new Riegel Sewer District retroactive to the first quarter 2014. This is for the January 1st to March 31st. There's the exhibit for that. I have a resolution fixing time, date for viewing and public hearing for the vacation of 2 portions of West Lodi and 1 portion of South Street, West Lodi location within Reed Township, Seneca County, Ohio. The viewing will be Tuesday, May 27th at 9 a.m. and the Thursday, May 29th at 10:15 a.m.
That's the hearing.
That's the hearing. The first one's the viewing and the next one's the hearing.
Mhm.
And I think that's all the resolutions I have.
I move we approve.
Seconded.
The motion is, and a second to approve the resolutions. Any comments or questions? I've got one on the last one, so that's, they'll have the viewing, they'll have the hearing, and that is because they're going to abandon those from being township streets to become alleys or something of the sort, is that?
They'll revert back to land, or we have the option. Somebody's petitioning to abandon these, either alleys or streets, whatever they are. And so we view them, and then we have the hearing on them, and at the hearing, we find out if there's any landlocked parcels or any problem with it. If there's no problem, we can abandon it, and then the land goes back to the adjoining landowners.
Okay.
You do about one every 3 years, it seems like.
So does Mark end up presenting that information at that hearing, or do the trustees?
No, Mark will.
Mark will do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Trustees will probably be at the viewing, I would guess.
I don't think we've done one of those since we've been.
I don't think so.
And we have another one coming up too, so you guys are lucky this year.
All right. We'll learn something now. All right. So is any other questions on the resolutions? Seeing none, roll call please.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Solar?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes. Approved. Thank you. All right, that completes everything on our agenda. That'll move us to a period of opportunity for citizens' comments and questions. So at this point, we'll take those if anyone has any comments or questions for us. He's waiting. He's giving everybody else, because Tom's a regular at our meetings. He's in a night meeting now.
Yeah. The cemetery. You know, the Boy Scouts gave the commissioners a real standard on that county cemetery. I don't understand how that standard can be altered in any way now. That needs to stay what they did. You know, there was like 2,000 hours, I think it was 1,900 hours spent out there. And I just can't see that thing changed from their standard that they set. And why you can't dig up that $70 or $90 to take care of that, I don't understand.
It's not even about the money, it's this particular township has the responsibility to do this, and do we step in and do their job? I mean, it'd be like us paving their road, it's not,
Well,
it's
Jeff,
not kosher. I mean, $90 is not, that's not a big deal.
Jeff, I believe in your bylaws. I believe, if I remember right, from a while back, that the commissioners are responsible for that cemetery. I'm not sure that,
The ORC directs who has to do the marking based on what's on the death certificate of the individual. And that's the governing body responsible for the marking of the grave.
okay,
With a permanent, and it specifies it has to be a permanent stone and or concrete marker. And so that's what the ORC is.
so the buck stops there, doesn't it? It
With
stops
the
with you guys.
ORC. And then the individual, the one we're referencing is the date the death certificate indicates it was Pleasant Township. It wasn't, and that's why the city had theirs, because they were designated as city being on the death certificate. And so that's what that goes
Okay,
by.
well, I still don't understand that, but on top of that, I think you have another little issue up there.
And that is the lane probably, I'm
The
gonna
lane?
guess?
Yes.
Yes, and when the weather breaks, we said we were gonna address that issue. I did talk to the county engineer to report back. I'm not sure if you're gonna ask that question or not, because I said
Well, yeah,
I do that.
I was gonna
and-
get there.
That is not the, anything within his responsibility of what his funding is for. That is for our county roads, not that lane. So, I've got a potential solution is once the weather breaks and we can get it smoothed out, and we can have maintenance put some fill in those ruts. And whenever the weather is bad, I guess we will have people they'll have to use it as a walking lane and not a driving lane, because it is a lane, it's not a public roadway. So we can't require the engineer to spend his money on something that's not a county roadway, because that's what his money's for.
I'm sorry, I just can't buy that. That's a public cemetery, and you can't expect us older people to walk back there. That needs to be taken care of.
Well, it's a lane, and if it's of conditions where it can't be driven on, I don't know how else we would address that, because again, the engineer's not gonna be able to spend his money, because he's not designated to spend money that's not on a public roadway.
It's your cemetery. It's your cemetery.
And I said we'd take
You
care
got
of
the
the,
money.
we'll take care of the rut and put some stones in.
There's
He
more
said
than-
he would give us the recommendations to make it drivable and not have a damage, but he can't do any more than give us his engineering, using his expertise to share that with us, and I'm not sure then we'd want to spend that monies to make it a driving road beyond a path. And like I said, and when the inclement weather it is, it's gonna rut it up, and we do rent that farm out, and we have to have that access to that farmer to get to do his things as a
I agree.
tenant.
I agree with that.
So,
But what about the wrecker that done that damage? Why didn't you go after him and make him do some repairs?
well, they did that because someone drove back there and it wasn't the farmer who did that.
No, I didn't say the farmer, the wrecker. The wrecker that went back and got
And
that
again,
car
the
out.
record had to go back because somebody drove back there when it was a condition to cause them to get stuck. So, I mean, we could argue all night, but that's why I think we're gonna have to go to the point of closing it if it's the conditions of such, and post a sign that says inclement weather, you'll be responsible. We didn't have a sign up at that time, the wrecker went back there, and that individual, I guess, should have been charged who rutted it, not the wrecker who pulled them out. I mean, they caused the rutting, but
I agree.
That would allow people to drive there during good weather, you're saying,
yeah.
and then,
Yeah, I mean, there's a parking lot that's perfectly fine to be driving on in all weather conditions. Other than blizzards, I guess. Lots of snow. Yeah, I know it's a hike back, but I'm not sure in inclement weather people will be going back there anyway.
Well, I agree with that.
So-
I think you're kind of sidestepping it. Thank you.
Any other comments from the general public? Now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Well, I would just remind everybody, we have the asphalt demonstration tomorrow at 2:00. All I can say is front of the Bears Den. I don't know, what is that?
That's
Perry Street.
Perry Street. Perry Street, Washington Street. A demonstration on,
Filling potholes.
filling pot, yeah, versus the old cold patch systems.
And they can always park in our lot and walk over since it is.
Pardon?
They can park in our lot.
Yeah,
Chips
yeah,
if they
yeah.
decide to
and
come.
the first round's on you after this?
No comment.
We'll be there.
I'll still entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that
Okay, I'll
motion.
second.
All in favor,
Thank you.
say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, and thanks for being here. Thanks for letting us be here.